Here at our planet, we're lucky to have one star that keeps us alive. But in space, there are many stars with planets that could be similar to Earth. There are even stars with many planets that scientists think could be similar to our Earth. A few years ago, scientists found something very interesting. It's not a planet, but it's not a star either. It's a brown dwarf. A brown dwarf is something in between a planet and a star. And this one is close enough to Earth that if we were to visit it, we might be able to live there. It's called Teidei 1. So, what would happen if you fell into this strange object? First of all, what is a brown dwarf? Well, it's an object in space that's bigger than a planet but smaller than a star. This means that it doesn't have enough mass to make its own light and heat like a star does. Instead, it reflects the light of nearby stars. Teidei 1 is about 20 times the size of Jupiter and has more than 16 times the mass. It's so massive that it has a strong gravity. If you were to fall into it, you wouldn't be able to escape. Its gravity is so strong that not even light can escape from it. That's why it's called a brown dwarf. It's kind of like a big, dark hole in space. But there's one big difference between a black hole and a brown dwarf. A black hole has a boundary called the event horizon. Anything that crosses the event horizon cannot escape the black hole. But a brown dwarf doesn't have an event horizon. So, if you were to fall into Teidei 1, you wouldn't be completely trapped forever. Eventually, you would be able to escape its gravity. But you'd have to wait a long time for that to happen. The good news is that Teidei 1 is about 130 light years away from Earth. So, you don't have to worry about falling into it anytime soon. But if you were on a spaceship traveling near the speed of light, you might be able to get there in about 130 years. Of course, by that time, everyone on your spaceship would be long dead. If you were to survive falling into Teidei 1, you would need a spacesuit with a lot of padding to protect you from the intense gravity. The air in the spacesuit would get compressed and it would be hard to breathe. And the intense pressure would probably crush your bones. But if somehow you were still alive, you wouldn't be for long. The surface of Teidei 1 is extremely hot, maybe as hot as 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit or 1,100 degrees Celsius. You would be burned to a crisp before you even hit the ground. Even if you were frozen solid, the intense heat would melt you in a matter of seconds. But let's say that you remade of some special space material that can withstand extreme temperatures and pressures. What then? Well, you'd still have to deal with the gravity. At some point, the gravity would become so strong that it would start tearing your body apart. You would be stretched and crushed like a bug under a magnifying glass. Eventually, you would reach the center of the Teidei 1. And this is where things get weird. At the center of the brown dwarf, there is a small core of solid rock and metal. This is surrounded by a layer of liquid metal. And outside of that, there is an ocean of liquid hydrogen. If you were somehow still alive when you reached the center of Teidei 1, you would only be for a few seconds. The intense heat and pressure would quickly turn you into a soup of subatomic particles. So, what would you experience if you fell into the young M8-Class brown dwarf? You would experience a little less than 2 minutes of intense gravity, high pressure, high temperature, eventually getting burned alive. And then your body would get crushed and turned into a soup of subatomic particles. Not exactly a fun place to take a swim. But if you want to know what would happen if you fell into a black hole, watch this video next.